Well, hello and welcome again to one of my book reviews. Today I was going through some articles. Actually, I'm just going to jump over here. It was a book review on A Mind Awakening, and it was uh, a book that was about C.S. Lewis. And it was written back, I think it was in 1959 or something like that, and it was by John Piper, and he has a website, designing God, desiring God. I'm sorry, and anyway, he talked about C.S. Lewis, and it kind of reminded me of a book that I had purchased quite a while ago, and I always liked the writings of C.S. Lewis, and these were, it was a book on quotables by C.S. Lewis. This is the cover, and I'm looking at it backwards, but it probably records it in a forward, so it might not be that bad. But I was just kind of looking through the leaf, the cover. They got these leaves, that covers the book. And it had some stuff about C.S. Lewis, and I thought I would share it. I've read some other stuff by him, about him, put it that way here. But C.S. Lewis was actually born a year before my father. He was born in 1898. My father was born in 1899. So, and the man kind of resembled, or reminded me of my father, put it that way. I won't say resembled. But anyway, he was born in 1898 and he died in 1963. And was a respected scholar and teacher at the Oxford University for 29 years, and then a professor of medieval and Renaissance literature at Cambridge University to the end of his career. He was an atheist throughout his early life. He adopted theism in 1929 and converted to Christianity in 1931. Lewis's spiritual pilgrimage followed two tracks, both intelligently and emotionally, intuitively. Prolonged moments of longing, the bittersweet stab of desires. He perceived that those longings, which he came to identify as joy, actually pointed away from themselves to another world of permanency and fulfillment to God. And then the talents, he was talented in debates and writings. C.S. Lewis wrote uh, many novels, poetry. He wrote children's literature, fantasy, science fiction, literacy, criticism, and apologetics. In addition, he wrote essays, sermons, and hundreds of letters rich for their insight and human concern. And this book is full of things like that. Now, Lewis, many published works covered a wide spectrum of topics, both controversy issues and the enduring questions of human meaning in the world of creation of God. How do we live in the world with nuclear weapons? How should animals be treated in scientific research? How does a person deal with homosexual tendencies? How do Christians confront suffering and evil in the world? And then it goes on, it says, does prayer really work? Lewis addressed these and hundreds of other topics from the bedrock of biblical truth. Indeed, C.S. Lewis is hailed as one of the greatest Christian thinkers of the 20th century. Well, it goes on to talk about this book and stuff too, but that's kind of a little bit on the life of C.S. Lewis, or just a little brief sketch on it. I'm going to look up something here on atheism. I got to find it here. I think it's a little bit further. It's somewhat in alphabetical order here. Let's see here. I'll find it here in a minute. Here, just give me a minute. I could have had this. Here it is, atheism. You know, seeing he was an atheist, he wrote about atheists. This book is kind of in topical order, and he talks about atheism here. He says, when I was an atheist, my argument against God was that the universe seemed to so cruel and unjust. But how had I got this idea of just and unjust? A man does not call a line crooked unless he has some idea of a straight line. What was I comparing this universe with when I called it unjust? If the whole show was bad and senseless from A to Z, so to speak, why did I, who was supposed to be part of the show, find myself in such a violent reaction against it? Thus, in the same act of trying to prove that God did not exist, in other words, that the whole of reality was senseless, I found I was forced to assume that one part of reality, namely my idea of justice, was full of sense. Consequently, atheism turned out to be too simple. If the whole universe had no meaning, we should never have found out that it had no meaning. And then he had one other little quote here on atheism that I want to share. I was at this time living, like so many atheists, in a world of contradictions. I maintained that God did not exist. I was also very angry with God for not existing, and I was equally angry with him for creating the world. So if there's no God, how can you think like this? You know, he was a man who did a lot of thinking. It's a good book. There's a picture of C.S. Lewis on the back of it here. And like I say, I bought this book some time ago. I would recommend it. It's called The Quotable Lewis, and it was by Martindale and Ruth, and it was Wayne Martindale and Jerry Ruth had edited. Good book. And that's kind of my take on this little book review. I hope you enjoyed it and got some information here. So, with that said, I'm going to stop my recording here. Okay.